You're listening to How I See It, hosted by Han. You guessed it, that's me. I am here to motivate and inspire you with guests from all different industries and backgrounds. So get ready for personal stories of success, of growth, full of highs and lows, and of course, unapologetic realness. This is How I See It. Hi, you guys. Welcome back to the podcast and for a very special episode because it is officially the 100th episode of the podcast, which is insane. And if you're watching, you probably have noticed we had a little bit of a facelift. So I thought it would be the perfect time to kind of announce that I'm officially moving all podcast recordings to studio recordings. And with that came kind of the creation of the podcast studio itself. So I'll get more into that kind of at the end, but I just thought this would be a really special episode where I could come on and of course solo for the 100th and kind of just talk about like the message of the podcast and kind of what I've learned after listening to 100 guests here share their stories. I honestly truly can't believe it. I feel like during this time, especially with like opening the studio, and I'm planning a huge trip to New York and LA this next month. We're recording 12, I think, episodes in New York, all in person, and then like another 8 in LA. So it's just been chaos and like planning the studio and getting all the equipment together. I feel like it's really forced me to think about why I started the podcast, truly what it means to me and how the message has like evolved and developed over time. And I know I've said it over and over again, but I truly started the podcast as a way to make people feel less alone, feel more seen. I grew up in an environment where I didn't feel seen and I didn't feel heard and I didn't feel emotionally supported, especially through my mental health journey. And I feel like I didn't have a space anywhere at school or in any of my extracurriculars. So I felt like I really wanted to create a space for people to have a safe space where people could hear others talk about their own journeys, whether it was their career or their mental health, and just feel less alone. And I think as I became like a founder, an entrepreneur, and I started to go after my business, that kind of developed further. I found a lot of motivation in listening to other people's stories. I think it was like one of the biggest ways I could self-motivate, listening to others share kind of the ups and downs of their journey, who were very successful and who had pulled off their dreams already, share kind of their traumas growing up, the self-doubt and imposter syndrome they had to overcome. It was very, very motivating. And so I decided to launch a podcast that not only made people feel seen and less alone, where they could hear others talk about their healing journey, but also a place where people could share like their story, how they got to success, whatever success meant to them. The core of what I do is always the driver, to make people feel seen, less alone, heard. But my story has evolved and developed and changed. And looking back, it's now going to be, we're in season 3. It's been almost 4 years since I started, and new facets of my life have been added and changed. So after 100 episodes, I thought I would just share what I feel like has resonated the most. After interviewing successful founders, entrepreneurs, creators, people in the mental health space, these are the 2 things that I feel I've held on to. So first, to my point, things evolve, change, develop. I think right now where I'm at, I just turned 28. I am now opening the studio. This is going to be like my 3rd or 4th like business. I think that one of the biggest takeaways from not only my own story, but listening to other people's, is that you have to give your dream room to evolve and change. We have to kill our ego and we have to stop gripping so tightly onto our dreams and desires. We have to kill the expectation of what we think life is supposed to give us and how we think our life is supposed to unfold. I thought when I started all of this that I just wanted to be a content creator. I was shooting content. I love fashion. I wanted to make people feel confident in what they were wearing and how they were showing up in their life, aka unapologetic fashion and lifestyle. Then I started diving deeper into my own mental health journey. I realized I had something to say. Then I became a full-time content creator and podcaster. Then I had to pivot and start a consulting agency, which if you've been here for a while and you've listened to the podcast, you know what a big ego death I had to have. I really had to put what I thought my dream was and the only thing it was supposed to be and surrender. Thank God I did, because I'm now where I'm at. I'm much more financially comfortable. I'm much happier. I'm now a content creator, a podcaster, and a founder, a strategist. And then I hit a phase where I started to feel really alone. I was overworking. I've always been super ambitious. And that period made me realize that I didn't want to be alone. I wanted to eventually be a wife, potentially a mother. So at this point, I was this person who was a content creator, a business owner, a podcaster, someone who now wanted to develop relationships. It's been this journey of surrendering and changing and letting life kind of guide. And at first I was holding on so tightly. And I think I've gone through so much evolution over the last 4 years in reframing. And I don't think it's as obvious to the outside, but mentally and internally, it's been huge reframing and shifting and letting new things come in. And it doesn't mean it's easy, but I have allowed myself to fall in love with more things and allow my dream to get bigger. Like, for instance, I've started to fall more in love with art and creativity, what goes on behind the scenes instead of being in front of the camera, and with community. I mean, now I'm launching a studio that we can put on Peerspace for people to execute their dreams and their creativity. I'm constantly allowing myself, and it's been a journey of, letting go of that grip, but I'm constantly allowing myself freedom to become who I'm meant to be. The mission hasn't changed, of course, but I'm allowing my dream to take new shapes. And I think that is one of the biggest things I've learned from listening to other people's stories as well. You have to let what's meant for you move in. I've seen this in every single guest I have had on the show and in my own life, but specifically in guests. I think it's very easy to see something outwardly than internally. Every single one ended up with their company or with their dream or with their job in the relationship in a way that they did not plan for or expect. And the only way they were able to do it is if they let their life naturally evolve, their dream evolve, and they surrendered. And again, that doesn't mean you let go of what you care about. Like the mission, the dream, the overarching theme of what you want your life to look like, you can lead with the same purpose. You can lead with the same intention. Again, the podcast mission has not changed. My mission of what I feel like I'm placed here to do has not changed, but I've allowed what that's going to look like to free flow. I think getting good at this and listening to guests talk about the way they've learned to surrender through the ups and downs of their journey has shown me that if you can get good at this, you can really master a lot of the anxiety that comes with surrender. I mean, we're always going to be scared. I talk all the time about how fear is natural and we're never going to, get rid of fear. That would be us getting rid of our humanity. But I think that the more you can practice letting things flow in naturally and letting go so tightly of what we think our dream, business, desire, relationship should look like, the more we practice loosening that grip, the more we're able to practice resilience in kind of the journey of life and the ups and downs of what life and our career and our relationships can do and bring. You've heard so many different practices on the podcast with fear and self-doubt and rewriting narratives. And I think especially right now, like I'm opening a studio, I'm taking another risk, I'm doing another thing that's pushing me. I mean, I've had to do like my fear reset so many times over the last few weeks just to like get through the imposter syndrome and the like self-doubt that naturally comes. But I think looking back on the last 3 to 4 years, I can really show myself proof of the things that I've been through and the times that I have surrendered and what has come when I've done that. And I think looking back on every single interview, every single person that has sat virtually in the interview room with me has been able to do the same thing. When we loosen our grip on what we think our life should look like, what we think the relationship should be, what we think the business is going to bring us, how we think we're going to get to success, when we loosen it, leading with mission, but we allow things naturally to flow, we can create more moments for success and we can create a more dynamic life for ourselves. The second common thread between the 100 episodes of How I See It is people's audacity. It is the only difference between the people who actually execute and who are successful and the people who are not. Of course, I don't want to disqualify privilege and more opportunities, but even still, I have had people on who have grew up in poverty, who have battled diseases, who have lost it all, who have been crippled by childhood trauma and depression and mental illness. And the one thing that all of them have in common is that they had enough audacity to believe that they were meant for more. What I think has evolved the most about the podcast and the messaging and my own view of where the podcast is the word unapologetic. Unapologetic used to just mean I can have a voice. I deserve to be seen. Then it developed into, let's be real, unapologetic realness. I felt that, there wasn't a lot of real talk in the entrepreneurial space and in the mental health space. I felt a lot of my life was a contradiction. And so the mission became be unapologetic, be real. Let's talk about the real shit. I truly believe that violating your conscience and not living authentically is what makes us sick. Then it developed into be unapologetic with yourself. Look in the mirror, address your shit, call yourself out, kill your ego, get fucking real with yourself. Get uncomfortable for the sake of real comfortability. Of course, you guys have heard that one before. I say it over and over and over again here. To me, unapologetic was making a decision to pursue more. And now I think it's developed even further, especially looking at the last 100 episodes and listening to 100 people's stories. You need to be unapologetic within your belief system when it comes to your capacity to pursue more. I talk about how being unapologetic is making a choice to pursue more. But I think choosing to be unapologetic is not simple. Being unapologetic takes a reframe of your belief system of yourself. If you've been here for 100 episodes, or honestly, even the last season, I think it's clear, I think we all need to be unapologetic. And that doing the fucking work emotionally, mentally, career-wise is necessary for our overall success and growth and to live to our highest potential. I've talked a lot about what it looks like to make uncomfortable choices and how to navigate that within my solos with other guests when it comes to self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and making the hard choice and putting down our triggers. You can go back through the last 3 seasons and find all of that. But I think what I'm starting to realize, especially in my own life and, watching the people around me and hearing people every week on this podcast who have been majorly successful, I've learned that you have to be unapologetic with the way you view your capacity of change. You have to have audacity, serious amounts of audacity. You have to reframe your ability to move through trauma, to move through your mental health journey, to execute your dreams, desires, goals, your business. You have to move through your self-taught or maybe not self-taught narratives. You need to take leaps that are aligned but feel scary. That takes serious audacity. Every guest that I have had on here has made a choice, whether it be with their mental health, with their relationships, or with their career, to form a belief system that is rooted in confidence that they can overcome, achieve, or create what they desire. You cannot achieve your dream or get healthy or move through hardship, for that matter, if you don't believe that you have it in you to do so. Believing that you have it in you to overcome the things you've been through, the trauma you've experienced. Believing that you have it in you to have a successful relationship without self-sabotaging it. Believing you have it in you to start your own company. Believing you have it in you to rewrite the narratives you've told yourself for years that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough. Whatever it is, that belief starts with an audacity and an unapologetic choice to believe that you are capable of that change. You cannot make uncomfortable choices without that belief. Therefore, you have to have serious amounts of audacity. And that is something I've seen with every single guest here. They have loads and loads of audacity that allows them to continue to push, to continue to execute, and to continue to pursue more unapologetically. So I'll leave you with that. Happy 100 episodes of How I See It. I encourage you guys to choose to be audacious, choose to be unapologetic, let go of the grip so tightly. And I think honestly, that's a part of being audacious. That's a part of having audacity. Being able to surrender is a strong, confident choice. So I think those two things go hand in hand. I am so excited. Thank you so, so much for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is like a dream. It is a dream come true. I hope this space has brought you hope and inspiration and motivation as much as it has for me. I know that the last 100 episodes have really made an impact on me as well. Please like leave a review with your favorite, or if, there was something you want to say about the last 100 episodes, it would mean a lot. On Spotify and Apple, you can leave a review. Really, this podcast has brought me so much hope in not just my mental health journey, but in my relationships and my entrepreneurial journey. And I really, really couldn't do this without you guys. So I appreciate it so much. I'm so excited to move this to like live studio recordings. The space here in San Diego, if you're local, is going to be called The Frame Downtown. It already has an Instagram, so make sure to follow it. It will be available on Peerspace to book for your photo shoots. There's like cool living room spaces, chairs, a photo roll, obviously the podcast studio as well that will be available to use. I just feel like so good. And obviously I'm scared. Like, again, back to the conversation, I am anxious. I am taking a leap. I'm having to flex serious audacity right now, but I'm so excited for this space and I know people are going to love it. I already love it. If you aren't already, follow How I See It on Instagram so you can keep up with the small clips and the merch and all of that jazz. And then, of course, if you don't follow me already, I am How Han Sees It on all platforms. But thank you guys so much for being here and for being a part of the community. It means a lot. I literally could not do this without you guys, the listeners and the people here. So thank you so much. Cheers to another 100 episodes. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode and I hope you leave here feeling motivated and inspired. Do not forget to rate and review the pod on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And don't forget to follow How I See It Pod so you can keep up with podcast updates and see who's coming on next. And if you're not already, come join the fam and follow at How Han Sees It. Thank you guys.